Hey Heifers, and welcome to Angus IT, the podcast all about anxiety, depression, and just sitting at home, sitting on your couch, sitting at your home office desk, sitting in your car as you cry to hide away from your family. And scene. So the pandemic wall was this article someone wrote, and it started trending on Twitter, and everyone was really vibing with it. And I think that the pandemic wall has come and gone throughout this entire thing. I think we have really good weeks here and there, and then we get bad weeks. Like, I think a lot of us are having ups and downs. They don't necessarily all overlap, but I think that it's kind of a weird space. I think that there's something to be said about adapting to a changed situation, but then realizing how much you've had to change things. And so I wanted to spend today just sort of talking through it. I know that there have been a lot of discussions, even just on this podcast alone, about this subject, but I think it's just always nice to continue to hear that other people are going through the same thing. I always love commiserating with other people. It makes it feel more real and not just in my head. So we're going to do that. But first, we're going to get into the segment about my life sabbatical week 2. I promise I'm not going to sing this entire episode, though full disclosure, I'm incredibly tired right now, so all bets are off. It's taken me forever to do the proper math because technically I'm on week 3 right now as I record this, but I'm talking about last week, which is week 2, and honestly, I just had to record this section 3 different times because I kept confusing myself. So let me reference week 1. That was my vacation week. I wanted to use it as a buffer between my corporate job and moving on to whatever else I was going to do. And so something I really wanted to focus on for week 2 was sleeping at a normal schedule because I had completely ruined that. I was not sleeping perhaps the way I should, maybe up until 2 and 3 a.m., waking up at 10 and 11 a.m., just forever sleeping in the a.m.s. I think it's nice to throw in a p.m. in there occasionally, not both p.m.s. That would not be fun either, but I was ready to bring some structure back after the vacation week, right? So week 2 was a little bumpy. I had a couple more existential crises about what do I do next. I felt like there were so many options before me, but I couldn't actualize any of them. And I think I started feeling really embarrassed, to be honest. I would talk to people and they'd be like, oh, so what do you want to do next? And I felt like I was a 5th grader with a crayon, drawing, going up in front of the class and being like, well, I really like doing the writing and I enjoy talking and maybe I'll talk to other people on stage or maybe I'll just be creative. And then it's like, what does being creative mean? And I'm like, just creative. So I don't have a great way to articulate it yet. And I feel like I just sound really stupid. Which then makes me feel stupid and ashamed, and then I enter just the spiral of sadness. But I luckily, near the end of week 2, kind of got it together and realized, like, hey, like, that's okay that I don't know what's going on. That's the point of this. And throughout my entire life, when I have been stuck, when I have had major mental blocks, I have always come through it. It's not pleasant, it's not super fun, but I've always come through it because I am trying even if it feels like I'm not. It sometimes feels like I'm on a treadmill, like I'm running really fast, but I'm not going anywhere. But that's just so I can build up these sexy calves so I can like run out to Taco Bell and run back and be just a-okay. I'm not sure where that fit in the analogy, but the breakthrough comes, but it's a slow buildup sometimes. And I think that's just what I was having last week. I wanted to try to sit down more and think about it. And a big part of what I started doing was checking Indeed and looking at other jobs, even part-time contract things, which I still think I'd like to do. I'd like to have something going on in the background so I can, like, I don't know, eat food. But I realized I was stressing myself a lot about that aspect of it and not so much about the reason why I left, which was to finally be able to do like an 8-hour workday just into my creative endeavors and treat it like a job and possibly get to make money that way. You know, if you get enough marketing going on, people hear more about your podcast, or you get to submit more writings to journals and possibly you can get some money that way or something, right? So it occurred to me that there had been a project I wanted to do forever, and I kept pushing it off because I was like, oh, I don't have time for that. I have to get a job again. And I'm like, wait, like I do at some point, but that's the point of this. So sleep schedule is better. And with that, I think it brought more clarity of mind. And so now I'm working on these extra projects. I think I didn't even let my brain fully think them through because it felt so impossible. And now I'm letting myself dare to dream, dare to hope. So it's been really fun. I've actually been incredibly energized today. I'm recording this on Monday, February 1st. Hello. And it took all of last week for me to get here. The biggest thing of this week, though, was that I got health insurance, and that was the biggest pain of my life. I knew it would be. I hate our healthcare system, and it did not prove me wrong. But I did get it in the end, and shockingly, it is better than what I had at work. Wow. But that's because I qualified for a subsidy. What helped me, I didn't know shit. I was actually going to get an awful plan, but apparently there are insurance agents out there and you don't pay them. They just get paid by the insurance company once you're referred to them. And so like I'm on Blue Cross Blue Shield right now, which is, respected. I don't know if any insurance company is respected, to be honest, but like, Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's not like some scary hut out in the bayou and they give you Band-Aids and call it a day. But my agent was amazing, and she really helped me figure out ways to get monetary help for it that I wouldn't have even known about or considered. So that is the only reason I was able to have affordable health insurance. And my medications have gone down by $80 also per month, $80 per month, which is huge. So lots to be excited about, but also much to be angry about. Man, if I had the time to do a research, I would actually love to do a whole episode about our health insurance and mental health. That would take a lot, though, and I don't know if I feel fully qualified to talk about it, but I'm happy to at some point expand upon my insurance experience because I think that's a very interesting thing, especially if you want to go out and do your own thing. It's very different than setting up a corporate insurance. And especially right now, I don't have any income, which makes it extra special. So I don't know. We're on a fun journey with it, and it'll be fine. I'm fine. I feel very confident going into week 3. I think I've set myself up really well. And I continue to just feel like this was a really good decision for me, even though I'm having all these little questions badgering me. I don't question the overall move to do this, which I continue to think is amazing and super fun. So week 2, again, kind of a transition week from vacation into let's do the damn thing. And I think what I really want to focus on now for this week, week 3, I want to make actionable steps. So I have the project in mind, and I now have the time in a day to do it. So things won't take me as long as they normally do, which I'm also forgetting because I'm not doing it on top of a 9-to-5. I am now making it my 9-to-5. So I want to set like solid goals for each week moving forward. And we will see what week 3 brings us. Huzzah. Love it. Yay. The pandemic wall. I think it has many names. The pandemic cesspool, the pandemic sadness, the pandemic sofa. I'm shocked. I don't know how Furniture Line's been coming out with like different kinds of sofas based on how depressed you are during the pandemic. Like a sofa. You ever sat on one of those sofas at someone's house and it literally just eats you? Like you almost get sent into a different dimension because that's just how absorbent it is of you. You become the couch. I feel like that would be like top tier yuck pandemic couch. So I don't know if that's a thing, let me know. If not, hey, Ashley Furniture, put me in touch with your people, and me as my own person will, you know what? I don't want to run a furniture line. That's so exhausting. I have better things to do, like pet my dog, and that's it. I think we're all feeling a little itchy because we're about to hit the 1-year anniversary of quarantine, at least for me and a lot of people in the US. That started in like mid-March, early like second week of March or something. So it's so strange because when we first started this, we all, or at least I thought like, okay, like a 2 or 3 week thing, kind of like, you know, when my area gets hit with a hurricane, you know, sometimes we're out for a couple of weeks and then things get better. But yeah, here we are a year later. Never would have thought that. I think it's hard now to kind of plan for the future because you don't know what's going on. But in some aspects, I think we have been able to look in at ourselves and now we're able to work on those things. But there are all these obstacles that have come in the way. And I think it's important to talk about this pandemic wall or another dip if you're having it. And if you're not, don't worry about it. These things come and go, so don't feel bad if you don't feel bad. Honestly, even though I'm in like a minor funk right now, I want other people to be happy. I think there are still things to enjoy, and we need to and it's important to recognize those things and hold on to them because that's what gets us through. To me, the pandemic wall is a form of depression, and some people aren't used to experiencing those symptoms. I am someone who I've gotten my Girl Scout badge for depression. It's on my vest. That would actually be sick if they had one, actually. Okay, Girl Scouts of America, after Ashley Furniture, come talk to me. I have some great plans. I was a Girl Scout up until junior, which means I had the mint-colored vest, even though all the cool girls got sashes, and I really wanted to get a sash, but I didn't think my mom would let me, so I got a vest. Biggest regret of my life. Depression is mind-boggling because you don't know what it's like really until you're in it. It's just being really tired. And honestly, if you listen to the Life Sabbatical update and you didn't skip through it, which no problem if you did. But, my sleep schedule was really off. And I think it's because sometimes it's just like, what do I do today? Weekends are kind of hard to distinguish from my weekdays. Like I tend to actually enjoy my weekdays more because at least everyone is moving. We're all doing things, but come to the weekend, it's not as structured. And then you're sort of left thinking, okay, well, all the extracurriculars I have, I'm having to do just after work. I don't feel like I have more options. And so I guess I can just fill up what would be normally 4 hours after work until my bedtime, or 5. I don't know how time works, but you know what I mean? That after work time up until you go to sleep, you somehow now have to extend that into 2 whole days and then, Friday evening. And that can be pretty depressing. And I fall into this all the time. And the beauty about depression is it kind of fucks with your memory and you forget that maybe there are other things to do, or you kind of forget what maybe your coping mechanisms are. And since this thing comes in waves of being like, hey, I'm chilling, I've adapted, to, oh, right, I totally forgot that I can't travel casually, go to an amusement park, lick door handles, spit on strangers. It's all frowned upon now. And then that kind of takes you back. And also, I don't know if you feel like this, but I tend to always internalize my depression, which means that I tend to not believe that external factors make me depressed. It takes me a very long time to realize that and then accept it. In my head, it feels like an excuse, and I don't believe this, by the way. I would never believe this about another person, but this is just what my mind has decided is the journey we're going to go on. We have packed our bags, we have granola bars, and we are running through the forest wearing heels and shorts and sugar water, saying, hey, mosquitoes, come get me. We're not set up for success, not right out the gate. So I think that when I try to remember that these external factors that have been going on, like the pandemic, does weigh on me, I try to dismiss it in my head, but it's such an obvious thing. It's all around us. Every time you check social media, I guarantee you at least probably come across 5 posts about the pandemic. You see stuff about unemployment. Maybe you got laid off. Maybe you know someone who got COVID. You got COVID. Like, there's just so much going on constantly that we can try to tune it out, but it keeps coming back. Even in those places where maybe you usually are able to take a breather if you need it, it's always there. And we can get used to it, and we're very good, I think, at bottling things up as humans. We're just pretty good at it. And I'm mostly talking about my experience now, so let me switch from we to I. I can internalize a lot of these things without knowing it. It's not something I'm actively doing, but I think that for a coping mechanism, I try to just not think about the ongoing sorrow of pandemic. And that doesn't mean I'm not staying informed. I think these are 2 different things, but I try to make it feel like it's that's a fact that's happening. But I'm not personally overwhelmed by it. Like, it's important. I want to be careful of it, but I can't possibly let myself imagine having this happen to me, because then I will not be able to function, if that makes sense. So still having that empathy and still being aware and still wearing your mask, right? But just trying not to go that extra step of thinking, what would that be like though if that happened to me? And opening up that thought spiral. But you can only hold that dam for so long before it breaks and then it all floods. And sometimes it's just a matter of how many days can you go doing that? And other times it's because something like that happens and then it punctures a hole in that dam and then it all hits at once. So that's what's been happening to me. It's not necessarily that one thing happens, then I'm like, oh, just that one thing. It's like once I release the one angst or fear or what have you, all of it starts coming out. And then that's when I get depressed physically. So I get very tired. I lack motivation. My brain doesn't get to work the same way it normally does. I'm not as quick. I'm not as witty, or I at least don't perceive myself to be that, which is another funny thing. I constantly am talking to people and I'll be like, hey, sorry, I'm in a funk. And they're like, oh, I didn't even notice, which is like moderately scary on my end. Like, Elaine, you speak up, which I guess that is me speaking up, but just another thing to show that you never know what people are going through, right? But my brain is always going to be my worst enemy. And I'm constantly at that point trying to put myself down. And I'm like, well, why haven't I done more? Well, because there's a pandemic, you dumbass. But I don't accept it as an excuse. External factors, I just go, whatever. Other people are journeying through. What other people, Elaine? List them down on a piece of paper. You're telling me that they 100% throughout this entire thing have been succeeding? No, not even celebrities. Not even Elon Musk, or as I like to call him, Ego Musk. Mic drop. That's what I'm talking about. That is what Depression Brain Elaine threw out for you to enjoy. Eat my scraps, peasants. I asked on my Instagram what you guys were going through if you had hit the pandemic wall, or what it has felt like in the past. And a lot of you guys had said the same thing I've been saying, where you just felt really tired. You would find these little inspirations or little like flares of hope here and there, and then you would instantly get shut down, either just internally because depression said, or just, again, one of those external things happened. And it was just very disheartening because you feel like you're climbing out of a hole and then someone just like threw a stick at you. And so you fell to the bottom again, and you feel like you keep climbing up the same hole, falling down, climbing up again, getting so close to the edge. A few of you mentioned that you had projects you really wanted to start, and then you realized you couldn't do it, either due to funding issues or because the pandemic made it impossible. And then that was disheartening. And so another way where you try to look forward, but you feel like you've been stopped. So I just wanted to read those out to you because you are not alone. We're all going through it. And, strangers you may not know are also going through it. So the Angus IT Heifers, we're all out there in the grays in a daze. Ayo. That was fun. Whoa, wait. Writing that down. I don't know what to do with it, but hey, I my furniture line? Oh, shit. No, Elaine, stop it. I think a good way to kind of combat this pandemic wall is to remind ourselves of the things that have helped us in the past. And it sucks because it does continue to feel like you're getting shoved down the hill and you have to walk back up, but it feels good to walk up the hill still. And you can do it, and it might suck, but I think there are different ways to view the same thing. So maybe instead of us walking up a hill and getting shoved down, we're walking up a mountain range and you hit hill 1 and you're a little tired before you hit hill 2. Mountains are just hills put together, right? Oh, no, Elaine. But, you kind of get what I'm saying. Something that's helping me is I have forced myself back into my dance workouts, which consistently make me feel better, and I don't know why I stopped. Working out is the thing that helps me the most for both anxiety and depression, even if it's a half-assed workout. I think that's important to say. When I don't want to do a workout because I'm feeling that way, it's because I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to not be as good as I was. And either that's not true, or when I do it, it doesn't matter. And that's why I like doing my dance workouts, because to me, they're fun. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. And even if I'm not hitting it as hard, or maybe I don't do some of the moves, I'm still moving and my body is still using that. And I find that after I work out, I have a lot more motivation to at least do a few other things. So if I'm able to get myself to do something even for at least 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be like wild if it hasn't been in your routine. It's totally okay to ease these things in there. But then I'll do like a load of dishes, which is like stellar if you're depressed. My kitchen has been a nightmare and I don't even have Gordon Ramsay. Another one I always love to promote is setting a timer for 10 or 15 minutes and just seeing how much you can get done in that amount of time. I do that for my kitchen. Things do not take as long as I think they will. When I am depressed, I assume things are impossible to do and it's overwhelming. And so when I prove the science to me again in real time, it makes me feel better. I'm like, okay, a lot of my life stuff now doesn't seem as overwhelming, and that can give me a little bit of space to feel a bit better and maybe get a more normal sleep schedule going, just try to put things together. Another one I love to do, I call it my depression spaghetti. It's where I get like 2 pounds of meat and I make an ungodly amount of spaghetti. It doesn't have to be spaghetti, but mostly what I'm saying is meal prep, but it doesn't have to be fancy. I used to stress myself out because in my head I was like, well, meal prepping means I have to know how to really cook and have recipes and stuff. And that's something I would love to do. But when you're depressed, that's a lot. Like, unless cooking is an outlet for you, it's like, I'm not in fucking science class anymore. I don't want to follow your recipe. I don't want to do it this way. That's so much. I usually don't even have half the ingredients. What you doing to me? And so for me, I know I can make spaghetti. It's very easy. And once I make a ton, I know for a fact that I will eat a real meal and not just chips or saltines for a whole day. Like, I will have an actual food-based meal at the ready for a long time, and I freeze half the batch, so usually when I feel better, I can keep cooking, and then if I fall into a dip, I at least have something I can pull from before I have to make another batch. Other things, there are simple foods out there. Cans of soup, that's a great one. Cans of soup are easy. You pour it out, heat it up, boom, eat it, la-di-da. Sandwiches are easy. I forgot about sandwiches for a little bit, which was kind of a weird thing to say, but I did. And that's pretty easy. I chop up a little tomato, call it my vegetable, moving on. And like, I eat a banana at breakfast. Like, they're just grabbing the quick to go things, but they're in your home is a lot better. You save money and it tends to fill you up better than, like, I hate to say it, my Taco Bell. Like, when I make my own tacos, it's cheaper and it tastes better. Like, the thrill of it is gone, but you can make your own tacos, right? So I actually did like a whole pound of taco meat, and I kind of have too much. I don't know what to do. So I froze some of it. Tacos are pretty easy to make. It's a sandwich that's crunchy. What? Stop it, Elaine. Oh God. Talking to friends is always a solid one. talking to another human. Like if you live by yourself or you're talking to the same people, it's nice just to get a little fresh person, even if y'all are doing the same thing day in and day out. Everyone has a different perspective and they have different things going on. And I think it's just really nice to get another human voice in your head that's not just yours. Therapy, if it's an option for you. I know that, money is stupid and our healthcare system is stupid. Cutting out caffeine, like any caffeine, can only help. When you're depressed, you might be tempted to drink more caffeine. I am always that way because I'm like, I'm fatigued. Please wake me up. Caffeine, here we go. But it tends to make everything a little worse. Like you might be awake, but it's going to break your sleep schedule and your body is already, that caffeine make it sadder. Like the drop is worse emotionally. So even if you can just lessen it, that'll probably make you feel better, especially if you're anxious. My God, it'll help you so much. That's advice I need to take. I have not been doing that. I've been chugging my Diet Coke and quote unquote living my best life, which isn't just something you can say and then do whatever you want, apparently. Stupid rule. It should be. I kind of hate when people say like the pandemic won't last forever, because I'm like, well, I know it won't, but like when will it be done so I can get back to my normal life? But like, what do I even want to do in my normal life? I don't remember how I used to spend my days. And maybe that's okay because I definitely value a lot of things I took for granted. And there are definitely things I want to do in my life. Like I want to hang out with more people. I was not the best at always accepting invitations or setting things up. Or if I did accept it, I had a lot more anxiety about it. And I kind of do now because I haven't been able to frequently socialize to feel used to it again. So I definitely think we'll have a weird process post-pandemic, learning how to socialize again and feeling okay being in groups of people. I think that's going to be very interesting to talk with you guys about it when that happens. Anyway, I'm trying to not feel freaked out about creating a different life because I think I'm actually going to be happier because of it. I'm going to really enjoy these activities more. And I think that we'll kind of create a fun culture. And also everybody else is going to be feeling the weird same way as well. And I think some things will stay the same if we don't think it. And yeah, I think other things will change too. That's for granted. I basically just said nothing there, did I? I said it would stay the same and it would also change. Wow. Buy my self-help book. Fuck yourself. Buy Elaine Best. Thank you. I'm so tired. The pandemic wall will come and go. It'll get taller. It'll get shorter. You might be able to peek a hole through the wall. I don't know what you're seeing on the other side, but sure, why not? It's an analogy I've stuck with. But we have tools we can use to cope with it. But it's okay if you're in bed and you're like, why am I not getting out of bed? You can be normal depressed and you can be pandemic depressed. And then that Venn diagram could also meet in the middle. So I just wanted to come on here today to validate what you are feeling. You are not alone in that feeling. I too am going through it, and I'm weirdly also in a very happy state of mind. My body is not matching my environment currently, which is weird. So you're not alone in whatever level of confusion and depression you may be feeling right now. And I think that we just gotta keep talking about it with each other to remind ourselves it's okay. Things aren't necessarily a one and done thing. Like me saying oh, we're gonna be fine in March. That doesn't last you forever. You have to keep thinking it. Your brain has to keep being told, hey, stop being a little dick. Things like that. Wow, that was fun. So, hey, take a deep breath. Breathe out, and we are gonna figure this the fuck out. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Angus IT. If you loved what you heard, perhaps you would consider rating us on whatever streaming platform you are on. Reviews help people know that I am not spam. You know what, though? Word of mouth is the best way for other people to know about another podcast. So if you really dug what you listened to today, maybe share it with a friend or a family member or your dog. Dogs are really into podcasts. That's why they're called dogcasts. Ayo, okay. If you want more content, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Angus Angus IT. That's Angus like the cow, I like the body part, and T like the drink. You can also go to my website, www.angusit.com, for the show notes. I hope that while you're on your pandemic couch from the Elaine Best line at Ashley Furniture, so I kept saying that. I feel like they had a scandal. Am I wrong? Like the whole time I was saying it, I was like, are we about to enter like a Chick-fil-A thing? Let me look that up right now. No, they're giving beds to kids indeed. Okay, well, hopefully there isn't anything else they did. Oh, they've been doing a lot of good, it looks like, at least recently. So they're either making up for something awful I'm considering, or I've just decided to damn them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Haha, we're back. So yes, I hope that you are sitting on your pandemic Elaine Best couch and it's cozy, and that you are able to find a thing to do today that makes you feel good, and you're able to take off at least one little task from your to-do list. And with that, I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye, Heifers.